Hey guys, I have no idea if the quality of this thing is gonna be good. I have my little action cam going on here, so it's probably a little crooked and all that stuff, but I'm gonna try to do a video on everything in the front of the car. Okay, so today we're gonna install the grills that I just did. So this is plasti dipped with vinyl on the chrome trim parts, and everything in the front of the car basically that you can DIY will be done with clips, a 10mm socket, and a screwdriver. You're gonna want a Phillips and a flathead for this. So the first thing you're gonna do, since we're gonna do a lot of bumper work and all that kind of stuff, we're going to start the car and turn the wheel on both sides. So we're going to turn the wheel all the way, shut the car off, go ahead and remove, hopefully you guys can see some of this stuff, we're going to remove the two screws. It's very interesting trying to look at the camera and do work at the same time. I'm sure I'm gonna mess up some of the camera work, but it's the best that I can do. So here we go. Especially for those of you who have aftermarket wheels that are wider, OE or 225 on this particular vehicle, and so you have a lot more clearance here when you have the wheel turned. Right now it's not the case, so the steering geometry is a little bit different, all that kind of stuff. Now that we've got one side, we're going to go in and do the other side. So everything will be in the video will be in real time, and you know, I'll put time stamps and whatnot into the videos so you can skip around, I guess. First time doing this kind of video. Hopefully I can get a better setup in the future, but let me know if you enjoy this type of video. Yeah. Okay, so that's done, right? The screws are done. Keep them in a safe place. Usually, like when I'm working, I have the hood up. I generally like to have it in this slot right here, sort of out of the way, and so when you lower the hood it's not going to crush anything, right? So it's a nice spot to do that kind of stuff. It's really bright, so yeah, right there. I'm not really sure if I can see anything. Okay, I'm gonna have to switch the battery out on the camera and then we'll go again. Okay, and we're back. So okay, so I just removed the first two screws that are attaching the bumper to the wheel well. I'm going to switch to the flathead and start to remove the clips that are involved here. Now first I'm going to do this on the top. It's just sort of a habit. Since I will be working on electronics today as well, I'm going to do these first, and then I'm going to get under the car. So I will show you guys the stuff on the top of the car first, and then I will do the bumper removal and grille installation. Okay, so this piece here, take it out like so. Again, I store all of my little goodies, just to see if I can make sure I see it right there in the little nook there. Store my extra stuff in the back. Sorry if the car is a little dirty and all of that stuff. I have no intention of cleaning it until all of my work here is done in this next couple of days. Okay, so we're gonna take the 10mm. Okay, 10mm. here's the order of operations. Yes, I have the short ram intake there, so your box might be a little bit bigger or in the way or something different. So, but here's what we're going to do. First, battery, positive, negative. I'm pretty sure you should have done negative first, but that's okay. The point of caution here is that if you do positive and you touch the vehicle that has a ground on it, it'll spark and melt the metal. It won't hurt your hands necessarily, but it will spark and melt the metal. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but there's a spot right here that has been melted before. So yeah, you should do negative first and then you do positive. I'm gonna have to cut this little zip tie off because, well, that was the only way I can attach it yesterday. Oh right, the door is dead because there is no power. So, negative, positive. Again, I messed up. I should have done positive first and then negative, but whatever. Some of these things you just have to learn over time. Okay, and I'm going through the tools. My knife is down here somewhere. Okay, there we go. All right. So as you can see, you know, things happen. You forget you've done things, or you made things difficult for yourself, and you have to go and address that. So there's that. Right. Again, putting my tools down there in that little corner won't really affect anything because the hood, once you close it down, it won't hit anything. So let's get rid of that first. Get rid of this second. Okay, so what are we doing here? We're gonna take the battery out. Trying to work fast here because, you know, my battery life on this damn little action camera thing is really bad apparently, and it's also hot, so I think, you know, the battery works better when it's cold. So here you take out the two little clips, and then you can remove the retainer. Okay, again, put that kind of stuff on the ground. The battery itself can come out. Disconnect any of my lighting cables. Right there. Just a tip, since I don't really have to worry about it today, but just a tip, if you're working on your lights and you have the battery off and you need to access your door and whatnot, you should get a USB battery, USB car starter, little battery pack, and then that will provide the 12 volt DC that you need to do the work while the battery's out of the vehicle. So here, take the little box, always try to dust it off. There you go. See, the camera's still doing all right. All right, so from here, you're going to want to use the 10mm down here on the ECU, right here. Do I have it? No, I have it on the wrong direction. And then after a bit, it's actually very easy to do by hand after a few spins, because it is very, very long of a screw bolt. Yeah. Clearly, I'm just an amateur DIY guy. I don't know all the terms. Don't really care, as long as it works. I think I've done a decently good job with some of the stuff that I did. I definitely screwed up before, but whatever. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Okay. That is a very delicate save right there. Oh man, I lost a screw there before and it's a pain in the ass. Okay, again, battery's still good. Screw into a little nook. And then there should be another one for the 10mm right here that is hooked into the ECU. But since I lost one, it's no longer there. So the ECU, you can pry the plastic cover off right here. There's just a little bit of a pulling action on the sides, on each of the sides, and then the plastic cover can come off. That I will put in the car in a minute. And then here is the ECU. There are a couple of switches. So you have these little blocks like this, and on the left side you flip the switch up to release. And so you go and you release these, and there you go, the ECU is free, right? And hopefully you can get a good view of the actual the connectors over there. You guys can figure that out. All right, ECU and the cover goes in the car. Put it on the seat right there. Okay, so generally speaking, I've already taken it out, but for the rest of you guys who have OEM setup here, there's usually a piece of plastic here that is clipped onto the battery box. You're gonna have to remove that first. I forgot to tell you guys about this because, you know, I've already removed it from me. I don't need it anymore. All that does is it routes air into the water separator, I guess, and air comes back up over here into the OEM air box. But since I don't have an OEM air box, I have a air and water, you know, filter guard thing over here. Everything is fine. I don't need it anymore, so I removed it. Weight savings, yeah. So why did I do this for you guys? I wanted to show you this method here to really help access the couple of things. If you're looking at the car here, right, the headlight on the driver's side is hidden behind all of that stuff. The manual says to go from below to access it, or to remove the bumper and then take the whole thing off, which is absolutely not necessary. If you have decently small hands, you can totally do all of this stuff accessing via the battery route over here. Now, a trick that I learned from the guys who actually did my headlights is that if you remove this panel here, come on. Sorry, the camera and the hood is not having a good time together. All right. So if I remove this piece right here, right, and I'll just store it away real quick. If I remove that piece, and if your hands are small enough, you can actually access the, let me just get a better view here. You can actually access the back of the low beam right there. So there's a little bit of access right there. You can't really do much there, but it's more for cabling purposes more than anything. It's not really for, you know, twisting the bulb out or anything per se. It's just you might help you to get some cabling done via that route. For example, you could drop a cable down there and then pull it up, tie it with the next cable and then pull it up, etc. And of course you can easily access this bulb right here from that as well if your hands are small enough, right? And right there, let's see, yeah, you can probably see that a little bit. Okay, so, and also this setup right here, this view is fantastic to do any of the HID modifications that you might want to do. It's probably too bright outside and you can't see it well. so I can get a view here. All right, so right in there, right in that section, are my right there are my HID ballasts for the driver's side. I have a HID for the low beam and an HID for the high beam. I have the relays right here, tucked in here. I'm pretty sure you can also do the same thing even if you have an OE setup, because I zip tied I had a couple of zip ties right here. Maybe you probably can't see because of the contrast, but it's going off of the body and the negative terminal, zip tied, and just hanging the four relays together. Okay, so it's very neat. It's fairly neat. What's messed up right now is the whole LED daylight running light setup. It looks kind of funky. The quality of the cabling and all that stuff is not very good in this new setup. So that said, that is basically the top of the vehicle as far as the most difficult side of the difficult part of it. And for those of you who are looking to also do headlight work on the passenger side, it's very simple. You just pull up the reserve for the coolant tank, and then here you'll be able to access a lot of space for any sort of wiring, ballasts, etc. You can access the light bulbs, both the low beam and the high beam, via this route as well. So it's a very nice and easy way to work on the passenger side, not so much on the driver side. Now, of course, I've had various zip ties and things going over here. I didn't spend too much time on redoing this side, but it works. It's absolutely fine the way it is right now. On the passenger side of this vehicle, you're going to have to use not just the wheel well here to access the fog light. You're going to have to go underneath because of the wiper fluid reservoir that's very large right here behind this cover. So in that case, it's actually quite beneficial to remove the bumper slightly in order to gain access to that. Okay, so that's the first part of the work that I want to show today. All of this stuff is more or less for you guys, because I don't really need to do any work on this right now. I will say that for the DIY stuff, when it comes to daylight running light, I did go through a fuse box. Not sure if you can see it, but I have a let me just take this out. You probably can't see it very well, but right here I have an add a circuit. You can Google that. Just Google add a circuit, and you can buy that pretty much anywhere, AutoZone, Amazon, etc. And then you find the right fuse that you want to use to make sure that there's power when the car is on. Of course, you can also test it yourself just by plugging into the circuit and turn off the car and turn on the car and see what kind of power draw you have. And it's very basic electronics. You don't need to worry too much about it. Okay, so that's it for this first portion. And yeah, so we have a lot of access here, and then in conjunction, most of the work that I have to do when it comes to HIDs will also go through the wheel well on the driver side, and in conjunction with all of that stuff. And I'll show you that real quick in the next segment. Hey guys, we are back. I just put the battery back, so everything is good on the top side, and now we're going to move on to the bottom side of the front of the vehicle. The whole purpose of this video is really having to do with DIY jobs, and nothing to do with mechanical, everything to do with cosmetics, lighting, things like that. That is relatively easy to do by yourself without any mechanical knowledge. all you got to do is have a couple tools and a little bit of time and patience, etc. So we are at the state where the top of the vehicle has been removed in terms of the front plastic molding. You do not have to remove the side molding as I did earlier, but that's fine for now. Yep, daylight running lights, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so we should remove all of the tabs and the molding on top first. Normally there will be a grill here, and I'll address some of the details here later on just so you can see, but there's a couple of clips that are clipped on and additional tabs that you have to remove, etc. Okay, so now we're going to go into removing the bumper. Okay, so the bumper itself, hold on, let me just, well, actually that's not too bad. So the bumper itself, let's see, get a little bit better view. The bumper itself has a couple of clips right along this area right here, and then everything else is just tabs that are attached to the other parts of the vehicle, aside from the 2 screws that we took out earlier. So all you need to remove the bumper is a screwdriver, Phillips for the 4 screws, 2 on each side, and the flathead to remove the tabs that are attached. Okay, so let's get my drill. Baking nicely in the sun, and okay, I have no idea if this is going to work well with the video, but we're going to go at it. So the first couple of tabs you're going to want to get is near the front of the vehicle here. I'm sure even if you don't quite see it in the video, you can figure it out yourself. You're going to really have to get underneath the car for a couple of the tabs. So just be prepared for that. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure there's no way for me to do this with a camera on, so I'm going to do the rest of this section with the camera off, and maybe I'll address it later. Alright, we're back. So I removed the tabs that are attached to the bumper below, and I'll show you where they are after I remove the bumper. So how do we go about actually removing the bumper? There's a couple of things you got to go through. First of all, we want to, after you removed all the tabs, there's actually another tab back here attached to the wheel well guard here, whatever it's called, the plastic piece. We want to first pull that back a little bit, especially on the driver's side. I think that's probably the easiest place to start. And we want to, let me see if we can get it on video right here on this clip right here. Lift up and pull away. Lift up and pull away. There's 2 clips. Let's see if you can see it in the video. I'm trying to get a little closer. There's 2 clips right here, and you want to unclip those, right? And then you can start to pull away at the bumper. There's really nothing else holding the bumper together, so you want to handle this carefully. You want to disconnect the fog light at this point. Maybe use your, so I'm a pretty tall guy, so it's a little helpful. I have long legs. I can use my feet to hold up the bumper if I'm doing this solo, and then disconnect the fog light with my hands. Okay, so I'm going to hold the bumper up and around, so I don't want too much stress on the bumper. Again, I want to use my feet to hold up the bumper as I disconnect the other side. You probably want to disconnect tabs on the other side first, and then do that. Seems like there's plenty of space over here on this side for the fog light connection, but whatever. Alright, so we have the bumper off. I think I got most of that stuff on the video, and yeah, let's get cracking. Alright, so I just need to do a little bit of work here myself to disconnect the daylight running light that was installed, so we can fully remove the bumper from the vehicle. As you can see, there's additional tabs, additional plastic pieces down there, dead bugs, etc. And I'm going to want to clean up some of this cabling that is no longer needed. Originally what I wanted was for another simple LED to be powered off of the daylight running light circuit, and the guy did it in the middle of the vehicle, which I found was strange, where there's more chances of water and contamination, etc. And yeah, that was kind of weird. And so yeah, that's what this cable here is. Most of you guys with the OE setups will not have any of this stuff. It'll be clean down here, but this bumper section right here and behind it is a good place to run your cabling for HID setups. It'll be a little bit more resistant to the weather and water. When you wash the car, it'll be right behind it, so nothing's gonna hit it. Rocks or anything like that won't bother it so much. Okay, so let me just throw this away. Okay, looking down at the bumper, when you are removing the bumper, there is a series of tabs along the bottom here that you have to remove the bumper, and that's it. There's 1, 2, 3 on each side that are attached to the wheel well guard, and then there's 6 tabs on the bottom that are attaching the bumper to the bottom of the car, as well as the grill. Here there's tabs for the grill, and then there's going to be a couple of screws for the grill as well, and that's about it.
You got my attention, man.
What's up?
Well, when people know stuff, I want to ask you something, because I'm like, oh, he knows all about that. That's, you know, man, we're always curious about things.
Yeah, I got a couple people on the forums asking me some stuff, so I just made a video, making a little recording.
So it's not.
I'm going to switch to the cell phone camera for now, and we have a couple of screws that will go onto the grill right here, and on the other side there's 4 taps that you need to go from below, and then that'll be secured to the bumper, and then after that you will put this back on the car and then secure the top of the grill to the top of the car right here. And that's pretty much it for the grill stuff. Now, for those of you who wants to like do some custom work on the grill, once you get it off, it'll be pretty simple to see that there's screws. This may be slightly different in 2010 to 12 model of the car, so you know, you just have to kind of like, you know, take a look and see what happens. But these are not regular screws, these are star-shaped screws. They are tabs that are retainer tabs that you pop out for the main silver trim around the outside. They're a little bit hard to get out. It's okay to break them a little bit, it's fine, because they're all secured by screws anyways. There's nothing that's fully hold on by tabs alone, so I have no problems breaking any of the tabs per se. Okay, so you know, just that's pretty much, you can figure that out once you get to it. The main problem is with the symbol in the front. I think the 10 to 12 has a screw, which is nice, but the 13 to 15 has these little disposable clips that I unfortunately just had to cut off. And I don't know if you can see any of it back here, but I have a couple of hot glue. I just hot glued it to the back, so that's it. Next time I want to take it out, I just have to melt the hot glue and push away, and it'll pop out. Okay, that's it for now. I'm gonna put this back on the car. I'm almost done cleaning up the cables, and it'll be good to go. Hey guys, in this segment we're gonna go over some of the electronic stuff that I did with the car in the front driver's side, all having to do with lights. So we have 2 first, let's go over the main headlights. So we have two cables here that goes to the ballast for the HIDs. We have several extensions here. Now, just a FYI, most aftermarket ballast for HIDs run off of the 9006 connector. So that's generally speaking the 9006, 9005. If you Google that and find those connectors extensions, you can easily find a 9005 that will fit this connector. And you can use that to then splice off of, etc. So what I have here is, one second, I have the low beam going into an extension with a couple of, hold on. So I have the low beam with a couple of extensions that they're spliced off of. Since I didn't have the time to, well, I made a mistake in splicing another one. I just created an extension here that I spliced off of over here. So, anyways, the basic setup here is Morimoto HIDs. You have the igniter here with an extension that goes to the light and a couple of LED daylight running light pieces here. And I have the relay here that hooks into all of these lighting pieces that switches the relay on and off, which then switches the actual daylight running light relay on and off. So how this basic concept works is this. My daylight running light OEM setup is on the high beam circuit, and it produces like a small voltage on the high beam circuit to light up a halogen bulb on a very dim setting. So that setup is then used, I'm using the high beam to then, right here, to then signal the relay. And then on the other side of that is a fuse box ADA circuit that I use. So at all times, whether the relay is on or off, there's actually a positive signal power going through the relay. The switch is actually just the low beams. So when the low beams is on, it'll switch to the fuse box power source. When the low beams are off, it's using the daylight running light on the high beam circuit as the power source. So this way, when the fuse box is, when the car is turned off, it'll switch to back to the high beam, even if the low beams are on. The problem with the normal setup without this relay is that using the fuse box as a power source, it would power the daylight running lights all the time, which is great. But then when you switch off the car, it takes about 10 minutes for the fuse box to decharge and the lights to go off. If I hooked the daylight running light box, the LED daylight running lights to the high beam daylight running light circuit, what would then happen is that it will only be on when the car is running, but the low beam is off. And when you turn the low beams on, the daylight running light circuit turns off automatically as per OEM specifications, and then you end up with no daylight running lights when the low beams are on. So, you know, it kind of goes back to an OE look when the lights are on, which kind of what I wanted a stylish look when the lights are on. So that's just basically how it goes over here. I have the daylight running light relay just zip tied over here, and then everything's good to go. I'll clean this up a little bit more, but this is generally fine for what I need. And yeah. If you're going to do the fog light install for the LED fog daylight running light thing that you get from China, there is a screw right here that holds the thing in place. But none of the clips match the US version of the car. So I found the best fit is to take this and zip tie it to that. It'll pull it in slightly, and it'll give you the best looking fit in front. So normally you get a little bit bigger of a gap here if you don't do that. So this is what that addresses. All right, hope that helps. See you guys next time.